The sound of crashing lunch trays echoed through Jefferson High's cafeteria like thunder. Hot coffee splattered across Harper Quinn's white blouse as the petite new teacher was shoved hard against the wall. Ethan Whitmore, towering in his football letterman jacket, stood before her with a predatory grin spreading across his face. "Oops, looks like the new teacher needs to learn how to get out of important people's way," Ethan sneered, while his teammates erupted in laughter behind him. Harper slowly pushed herself off the wall, her 5'3" frame dwarfed by Ethan's 6'2" athletic build. Coffee soaked through her blouse, the fabric clinging to her skin, but she showed no sign of pain. Instead, she looked directly into his eyes with an unsettling calmness. "I'm sorry, Ethan, but in my classroom, no one is more important than anyone else." Her voice soft, yet carrying an edge that made the nearby students lean in. The cafeteria, packed with over 300 students, fell into an eerie silence. Phones appeared in hands everywhere, cameras already recording. Ethan Whitmore, the principal's son who had driven 5 teachers to quit in 2 years, had just met his first real challenge. "Who do you think you are?" Ethan stepped closer, his breath reeking of energy drinks washing over Harper's face. "Do you have any idea who my father is?" Harper smiled, just slightly, but something in that expression made the cafeteria's temperature seem to drop several degrees. This small teacher was about to give Jefferson High a lesson they would never forget. Before I continue with this shocking story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about power in schools, I want to thank each of you for being here. Your support means everything. And if stories like this resonate with you, stories about standing up to bullies, about hidden strength, about justice finally being served, please take just a moment to hit that like button. It truly helps more people discover these important narratives. And if you or someone you know has faced similar situations, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Your stories matter, and together we're building a community where no one has to face injustice alone. Harper's first week at Jefferson High had been a careful dance of observation and patience. Teaching American literature to sophomores and juniors, she'd noticed immediately how the hallways seemed to part when certain students walked through. The hierarchy was as visible as the trophy cases lining the main corridor, football players at the top, everyone else scrambling for safety below. "Another lamb to the slaughter," she'd overheard students whispering on her first day. Mrs. Delgado, the veteran history teacher with 30 years under her belt, had pulled her aside that same afternoon. 5 teachers in 2 years, dear. All young women, all left crying. That boy and his father run this place like their personal kingdom. But there were things about Harper that didn't quite fit the profile of a typical first-year teacher. The way she entered each classroom, quickly scanning exits before even setting down her bag. How she never sat with her back to the door. The unusual calluses on her hands that sharp-eyed Amelia Chen had noticed during a writing exercise. Small details that added up to something more. The escalation had started almost immediately. Day 1. Ethan disrupted her third-period class, feet up on his desk, tossing a football while she tried to discuss The Great Gatsby. Harper had calmly confiscated the ball and continued teaching, earning surprised looks from students who expected tears or shouting. Day 3 brought explicit threats. "Accidents happen around here, Miss Quinn," Ethan had whispered as he passed her desk. "Ask the teachers before you." "Oh, wait, you can't. They're gone." By day 5, Harper arrived to find all 4 tires on her Honda Civic slashed in the faculty parking lot. Security footage had mysteriously malfunctioned during that exact time window. Principal Whitmore had shrugged when she reported it. "Kids will be kids, Miss Quinn. Perhaps you should consider whether this environment is right for you." Now, Day 8. The confrontation in the cafeteria felt inevitable. As Harper faced Ethan, she noticed details others might miss. How his teammates, Brandon Torres and Jake Sullivan, had positioned themselves to block the main exits. How Coach Bradley stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching with approval. How Principal Whitmore's office window overlooked the cafeteria, and there he stood, observing like a Roman emperor at the Colosseum. "I asked you a question," Ethan growled, his patience thinning. "Are you deaf as well as stupid?" Harper's hand moved to her pocket, and several students flinched, expecting pepper spray perhaps. Instead, she pulled out a phone, but not any ordinary device the students carried. This was military-grade communication equipment, the kind used by security agencies and diplomatic protection units. Bulletproof screen, legal-grade recording capabilities with authentication, timestamps, end-to-end encrypted cloud backup, and direct SOS connection to law enforcement agencies. Every threat, every assault, every piece of evidence captured in court-admissible format. One button, and everything would be transmitted to people who needed to know. "I'm neither deaf nor stupid, Ethan," Harper said, her thumb hovering over the record button. "But I am curious. Do you always announce your crimes before committing them, or is today special?" The quarterback's face flushed red. "Crime? I haven't touched you." "Yet," Harper said simply. "But we both know that's about to change, isn't it?" Amelia Chen, streaming live from her usual corner table, watched her viewer count climb past 1,000. Comments flooded in as people recognized the confrontation brewing. Someone had tagged it, Jefferson Showdown, and it was already trending locally. Ethan's hand shot out, grabbing Harper's wrist with the same grip that had caught countless touchdown passes. "You need to learn respect." The transformation was instantaneous. Harper's entire demeanor shifted, prey becoming predator in the space of a heartbeat. Her free hand came up, not in panic but with practiced precision. "I'm giving you exactly 3 seconds to release me," she said, her voice dropping to a register that made nearby students step back instinctively. Ethan laughed, squeezing harder. "Or what? You'll tell my daddy? He signs your paychecks, remember?" 3. Brandon and Jake moved closer, forming a semi-circle of intimidation. 2. Coach Bradley started walking over, ready to claim Harper had assaulted his star player if needed. 1. What happened next took exactly 3 seconds, but would be replayed in slow motion thousands of times across social media. Harper's body moved with fluid efficiency, her captured wrist rotating in a way that broke Ethan's grip while simultaneously controlling his arm. Her foot swept behind his leg as her free hand pressed against his shoulder in a textbook Krav Maga takedown. The 6'2" athlete hit the cafeteria floor with a sound like a dropped sack of potatoes, his breath exploding from his lungs. The cafeteria erupted, screams, gasps, and the scraping of chairs as students scrambled for better views or safer distances. Ethan lay on the polished floor, gasping like a beached fish, his throwing arm bent at an angle that made Coach Bradley wince. Harper straightened her coffee-stained blouse with calm precision. "Anyone else need a lesson in consent?" The football team stood frozen, their usual swagger evaporating as they processed what they'd just witnessed. Their untouchable quarterback, the principal's son, the king of Jefferson High, had just been dropped by a woman who barely reached his shoulder. "What did you do to my quarterback?" Coach Bradley roared, finally finding his voice as he rushed forward. Harper didn't even look at him. "Defended myself. It's all on camera." She gestured to the dozens of phones pointed their way. "Multiple angles, I'd imagine." Principal Whitmore burst through the cafeteria doors, his face already arranged in an expression of outrage. He didn't ask what happened, didn't check if his son was injured. His first words revealed everything about Jefferson High's power structure. "You're suspended immediately, Miss Quinn. Clear out your desk." Harper finally smiled. A real smile this time. "Perfect. My lawyer will absolutely love this." She pulled out a small notepad from her pocket. The kind investigators use. Just like with Miss Peterson, she lasted 3 weeks before mysterious accusations surfaced. Or Mr. Kumar, 4 weeks before his car was vandalized repeatedly. Should I continue? I have 8 years of documentation here. The crowd murmured. Students exchanged glances as pieces of a larger puzzle began forming in their minds. How did the new teacher know about events from years before she arrived? Ethan struggled to his feet, cradling his hyperextended arm. "She attacked me! Everyone saw it!" "Everyone saw you grab me first," Harper countered. "After a week of escalating harassment that I've thoroughly documented. Tell me, does slashing teachers' tires usually happen on day 4 or 5? I noticed you accelerated the timeline with me." Principal Whitmore's face had gone pale beneath his forced tan. "These are serious accusations, Miss Quinn. Be very careful." "Oh, I'm extremely careful," Harper said, her voice carrying clearly through the silent cafeteria. "For instance, I was careful to document Monday's disruption, Wednesday's threats, Friday's vandalism. I was careful to note that security cameras mysteriously malfunction whenever your son commits crimes. I was careful to research the 5 teachers who left before me, 3 of whom are now willing to testify about their experiences." Jake Sullivan started backing toward the exit, but Harper's voice stopped him. "I wouldn't leave just yet, Jake. The interesting part is coming." She turned back to Principal Whitmore, whose political smile had completely abandoned him. "You see, I'm not just any teacher. I spent 8 years in diplomatic security, protecting ambassadors' families in places where actual threats existed. Your son throwing a tantrum in a cafeteria? That's not even a warm-up." "Then why are you here?" Ethan demanded, still nursing his arm. "Why would someone like you become a teacher?" Harper's expression darkened. "Because someone needs to stop bullies who think daddy's money makes them untouchable. Someone needs to protect the students you terrorize. And someone needs to expose what's really happening in this school." The word expose hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Several football players exchanged nervous glances. Principal Whitmore's jaw clenched so tight that students could hear his teeth grinding. "Everyone back to class," the principal ordered, but nobody moved. 300 students stood transfixed, sensing they were witnessing something historic. Harper looked around the cafeteria, making eye contact with various students. "How many of you have been told to keep quiet about things that happen here? How many have been threatened when you tried to report incidents? How many of you know someone who mysteriously failed a class after crossing paths with certain people?" Hands slowly started rising throughout the cafeteria. First 1, then 5, then dozens. Amelia's live stream comments exploded with students sharing their own stories. "You have no idea what you're starting," Principal Whitmore hissed, stepping closer to Harper. She stood her ground, all 5 feet 3 inches of controlled power. "Actually, I know exactly what I'm starting. The question is, do you have any idea what you've been doing? Because I have evidence of more than just bullying and harassment." Ethan's eyes darted between his father and Harper. For the first time since freshman year, uncertainty flickered across his face. "Dad, what is she talking about?" "Shut up, Ethan," his father snapped, revealing more than any confession could. Harper pulled out a manila folder from her bag. She'd been carrying it all week, waiting for this moment. 3 students hospitalized this semester. All freshmen. All attended your infamous after-game parties. all tested positive for the same substance. The cafeteria's atmosphere shifted from shocked to electric. Students began connecting dots that had been invisible moments before. Jenny Morrison's sudden hospitalization, David Park's overdose, Sarah Williams collapsing at homecoming. "That's enough," Principal Whitmore said, reaching for Harper's folder. She pulled it back, her stance shifting subtly into a defensive position. "I wouldn't do that if I were you. Assaulting a federal witness is a serious crime." The words "federal witness" rippled through the crowd like a stone dropped in still water. Phones that had been recording video suddenly started making calls. Parents needed to know what was happening at Jefferson High. Coach Bradley's face had gone from red to white. "I need to check on my team," he mumbled, but Harper's voice cut through his retreat. "Stay right where you are, Coach. Your part in this is well documented. Every player who suddenly made varsity after attending certain meetings. Every grade that mysteriously improved for students who participated in your special training sessions. Every package that moved through the locker room after hours." Brandon Torres looked like he might be sick. "Coach, what is she—" "Shut your mouth!" Bradley roared, his composure finally cracking. Harper continued, her voice calm but relentless. "You run more than a football team here, don't you, Ethan? Those parties aren't just about celebrating wins. There's a whole system in place. Recruitment at freshman orientation, testing the waters with alcohol first, then gradually introducing other substances. Your father provides the protection, Coach Bradley manages logistics, and you're the friendly face that makes it all seem normal." "You're insane," Ethan protested, but his voice lacked its usual conviction. "Am I? Then why are your text messages full of code words? Why do you use Signal for certain conversations? Why does your father receive deposits every month from untraceable sources?" Principal Whitmore lunged forward, but Harper was ready. She sidestepped smoothly, letting his momentum carry him past her while she maintained perfect balance. He stumbled, catching himself on a table while students gasped at seeing their principal lose control so completely. "The FBI is already in the parking lot," Harper announced, checking her phone. "Right on schedule." Panic rippled through the cafeteria as students pressed against windows, watching black SUVs roll into the parking lot. Federal agents in tactical vests emerged with practiced efficiency, their movements coordinated and purposeful. "This is impossible," Principal Whitmore stammered, his authoritative facade crumbling. "You can't— I have rights." "You absolutely do," Harper agreed, pulling out her laptop and setting it on a nearby table. The screen displayed a sophisticated legal research platform, the kind only top-tier law firms could afford. This professional-grade database provided instant access to federal statutes, case precedents, and civil rights violations. The AI-powered software could transform what looked like teenage pranks into federal crimes with mandatory sentencing guidelines. Within minutes, it had compiled every piece of evidence into court-ready documents, including similar cases nationwide and corresponding damage awards, and according to federal statute 18 U.S.C. section 1513, you have the right to remain silent while being investigated for operating a criminal enterprise in an educational institution. Agent Sarah Reeves entered the cafeteria with the controlled confidence of someone who'd executed dozens of similar operations. Her team spread out, systematically blocking exits while maintaining calm professionalism. "Miss Quinn," Agent Reeves nodded to Harper, "outstanding work. 3 months undercover, and you've built an airtight case." The revelation hit the student body like a physical force. Their new English teacher wasn't just a teacher. She was a federal agent. Every interaction, every lesson, every moment had been part of an elaborate investigation. 3 months? Ethan's voice cracked. But school only started 2 weeks ago. Harper's smile was sharp. I've been in Denver since July, Ethan. Surveillance, documentation, building networks. Your summer parties were particularly illuminating. Did you really think nobody noticed the pattern? Freshman orientation coinciding with your first recruitment drive? New students suddenly having access to substances they'd never seen before? Amelia Chen's live stream hit 50,000 viewers as the story exploded across social media. Jefferson drug bust began trending nationally within minutes. Ethan Whitmore, Agent Reeves announced formally, you're under arrest for distribution of controlled substances, conspiracy to distribute, and contributing to the delinquency of minors. She turned to the principal. Robert Whitmore, you're under arrest for conspiracy, criminal facilitation, and operating a continuing criminal enterprise. As agents moved in with handcuffs, students began speaking up, a dam of silence finally breaking. That's why Jenny's in the hospital, someone shouted. She said the pills came from the football party. My brother bought from them, another voice added. He's been struggling with addiction since sophomore year. They threatened to fail me when I refused to join their parties, a quiet freshman admitted. Coach Bradley tried to edge toward the exit, but Harper had anticipated this. Coach, your vehicle's already been impounded. The hidden compartment in your equipment room has been documented. Every transaction you facilitated, every student you helped recruit. It's all evidence now. The coach's shoulders slumped in defeat. As agents cuffed him, he muttered, It wasn't supposed to go this far. It started small, just helping kids relax before games. It always starts small, Harper said, loud enough for everyone to hear. That's how predators work. They normalize one small boundary crossing, then another, until victims don't realize how far they've fallen. Principal Whitmore, now in handcuffs, turned to his son with something between rage and desperation. Keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything without your lawyer? Harper interrupted. The one you've been paying with drug money? He's being arrested too. The entire network is coming down today. 17 schools across 3 states. Jefferson High was just one node. The scope of the revelation sent another shockwave through the crowd. This wasn't just about their school. It was a massive interstate operation. As Ethan was led past Harper, he stopped, his arrogance finally replaced with genuine fear. My whole life is over. Harper studied him with unexpected compassion. Your life as a predator is over. What comes next depends on whether you choose accountability or continue your father's path. Students flooded out of the cafeteria as news crews arrived, the story already breaking on local channels. Parents descended on the school demanding answers. The school board called an emergency meeting. In the chaos, Harper found herself surrounded by students, not with anger, but with gratitude and questions. Miss Quinn, Amelia asked, still recording, are you really a teacher at all? I am licensed to teach, Harper confirmed. My degrees are real. My love of literature is genuine. But yes, I'm also a federal agent, specializing in educational institution crimes. Will you stay? A freshman asked hopefully. Will you keep teaching us? Harper's expression softened. I'm afraid not. There are other schools that need investigation, other students who need protection. But who's going to teach us about the Great Gatsby? Someone called out. And despite everything, it drew nervous laughter. Whoever it is, Harper said, I hope they teach you that the real tragedy isn't just about lost love or the American dream. It's about what happens when power goes unchecked, when corruption becomes normalized, when good people stay silent. As the federal agents finished processing the scene, Harper packed up her few belongings from the English classroom. On the board, she left one final lesson. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Edmund Burke. By evening, Jefferson High's drug ring had been completely dismantled. 17 arrests, including 3 faculty members, 2 school board members, and 12 students. The FBI revealed that the operation had distributed over $2 million worth of fentanyl-laced substances to students across the district. Harper stood in the empty parking lot as the sun set, her role at Jefferson complete. Agent Reeves approached with a tablet showing a map. Ready for your next assignment? Red pins marked 5 schools across the map: Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, Boulder, Littleton, and Aurora. Each represented another institution where students were being preyed upon, where authority figures had become the very monsters they were supposed to protect against. Harper's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Jefferson was just the beginning. "We know who you are now," she smiled grimly, screenshotting the threat to add to her evidence file. They always revealed themselves when cornered. A small group of students approached hesitantly. Amelia, the freshman who'd asked her to stay, and several others who'd found courage to speak up during the arrests. "Miss Quinn," Amelia said, "thank you for everything, for showing us that fighting back is possible." "You fought back too," Harper reminded them. "Every time you spoke truth, despite fear. Every time you recorded evidence. Every time you refused to be silenced. That's real courage." As Harper climbed into her modest Honda Civic, the same one Ethan's crew had vandalized just days ago, she looked back at Jefferson High one last time. The school would heal eventually. New teachers would come, hopefully ones who truly cared about students' welfare. The culture of silence had been shattered. But somewhere in another school, another predator was counting on that same silence to protect them. Another principal was taking bribes. Another coach was recruiting vulnerable kids. Another student was suffering in isolation, believing no one would ever come to help. Harper started her engine, already thinking about her next identity, her next classroom, her next group of students to protect. As she drove toward the sunset and her next assignment, one thought echoed in her mind. A truth that had driven her from diplomatic security to undercover education work. Sometimes the best teachers carry badges instead of books. Sometimes the most important lessons can't be found in any curriculum. And sometimes the smallest person in the room is the one strong enough to bring down an empire. The last anyone at Jefferson High saw of Harper Quinn was her taillights disappearing into the Denver twilight, heading toward another school where students waited unknowingly for a guardian angel disguised as an English teacher. Behind her, Jefferson High stood silhouetted against the darkening sky, forever changed by one woman who refused to let evil flourish in silence.